how modern and adaptive IAM are transforming the security landscape in India. Please help me welcome our speakers, Mr. Madhav, who is the co-founder of ACU, and Mr. Arun K., who is the CEO at Elantis Services with over 3 decades of experience, and he's held many senior leadership roles. Please welcome, sir.
Hi, Arun. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time. It's a hot topic everybody is talking about. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Nayara outage where Microsoft shut off services for about 2 days. Nayara, if anyone doesn't know, is a venture between SR Oil and Gazprom. Based on the world turmoil, what's happening in Europe, technology outages are becoming a thing of something that we all have to deal with. So today we're going to talk about that, and I am very honored that I have Arun here joining us. Thank you for taking the time, sir. Let's jump right into it. Today, MFA is not enough. What are the new contextual authentication or risk-based authentication that we're really getting into to fortify our workloads on the cloud and on-prem?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks a lot, Madhav, for hosting me here, and many thanks to the organizers of this event for inviting me. I'm actually based out of Dallas, Texas in US, and was visiting here in India for another event on invitation from Government of India for exactly same cybersecurity and AI event in Delhi. So it was really a pleasure to come here, be part of it. To your question, like MFA is not enough, is such a relevant point that traditionally we started, all the organization started with implementing the multi-factor authentication, and it so happened that they implemented it for all their employees who are accessing the sensitive information. Very soon we realized that it is creating a lot of friction in every transaction what we do. And at Elantis, like just to give a little background, like Elantis had been in IAM services business since past 25 years. So in past more than 2 decades, we have seen that how MFA evolved. And in that process, when we realized that this friction at every single transaction is not going to be beneficial, so the new, it's a natural evolution where organizations started looking at the risk-based or context-based authentication. So what it means is simply that, based on the risk factor, which is, you decide the threshold for the organization, and once the threshold is reached, then you apply the additional factor to authenticate the person. And that's actually leading towards this new adoption called adaptive IAM or adaptive MFA, which is very prevalent. It is an industry trend where most of the large organizations, and including some of the large financial organizations in India as well, are adopting to these newer approach for adaptive MFA, where based on the risk, based on the context, they are actually throwing the friction or introducing the friction to drive things.
Can we talk a little bit about continuous authentication? When we had a chat, we were talking about how where this is going in the immediate future is continuous verification or continuous authentication, and thereby also keeping the user experience in mind. Because you've got to say risk, security is important, we know that, but we also need to talk about, as you said, frictionless experience for your user where they're not hampered in terms of, especially in the B2B context, where their work life is not kind of hampered and doesn't become a nuisance. So where's that line? Where do you draw that line between the user experience and security?
Yeah, so I think that's a very important point. Like, as you look at the system, not all the transaction, not all the users can be treated at the same level. And that's where this concept of continuous authentication is playing a big role. Now, in the continuous authentication, like it's a multi-layer authentication which happens. Like first you do the basic authentication, then look at the behavioral model, and if the organization they are driving the zero trust framework. So aligning with that, you require to look at that how we can do the authentication based on any of those risk posture changing. For example, an employee who had logged in to the, let's say in the Bangalore office. So he had gone through the physical, the building authentication system, got into his cabin, and then opened the laptop, connected to the network. All these device signals are captured. But simultaneously, if another login attempt happening from, let's say, Singapore, okay, that is a kind of risk threshold changing, and that's where the continuous monitoring is coming into play. That while any of these factors are triggering the suspicion, so that is the time you throw up additional factor. Now this is not just the only factor. There are the kind of transaction, like if the person is just accessing a public information, then probably even though there are two factors, you don't have to worry too much. But if it's involving some transaction and there is a financial value involved or some critical sensitive data access is involved, naturally these are the inputs which need to be gathered and build it as a part of your continuous authentication system. So just to share with you, like Madhav, we are actually helping one of the global hospitality industry, and they had this problem that as the people working in multiple different shifts from all across the world, and 100,000 employees, okay, which are accessing the environment. So having a flat structure for all of them is not going making it very secure. So then dividing the user group into different categories, and based on that who is doing the sensitive transaction, involving these technologies to be able to do the build those controls. So in that case, we had been actually implementing a technology called ping identity, the full suite of ping, to be able to capture. It has got all those controls in place to be able to capture risk-based authentication, and also to do the identity proofing, and combining that together, okay, driving the success.
Let's switch tracks really quickly and get into AI, since AI is the theme of this event. One of the big outcomes of AI are deep fakes. Now, we know the onerous aspect of KYC documentation and how we are dealing with digital verification or identity verification digitally. Can you throw some light into that, and how does that really affect the landscape right now? How does that really change how we're doing these KYC verifications?
Yeah, so instead of directly answer your question, first let me just highlight this problem of deepfake. So you raised a very, very important point, and this is the biggest nuances, okay, which cybersecurity professionals are dealing as of today. Now, as you all know, that deepfake had given a very easy way to be able to create a very realistic document or video or the information, okay, which we use to do the authentication. Now, we are all living in the digital world where we are not seeing each other in person. So the KYC started with show the documents, okay, which are issued by the government. But we knew that these documents might be faked, because there are tools which can, within no time, they can create fake Aadhaar ID or PAN card, and there are multiple tools available which will not take more than 10 minutes to be able to create those fake documents. As a matter of fact, in US, when we are hiring people, so you'll be surprised that even H1 documents are fake documents are being submitted. Now, it's very difficult to figure out that, okay, whom you are talking. All these government issued documents, they are real, or what is the authenticity. But the story is not deepfake. Story is not limited here. People, when you get the documents to be able to authenticate the person, and you realize that these documents may be faked, so you said, okay, let's get into the videos. Like many of you who are opening the DMAT account or company director, okay, they ask you to record a video and send. But now even videos can be faked, right? And the technologies can lie. Okay, the technology can spoof somebody who is calling from a number. You don't know whether the person is in this country or another country. There are so many digital arrest cases which are happening in India, okay, where people are faking as a police superintendent or different roles, and trying to spoof the guys. And now people have gone to the level in deepfake where they can create the whole personality. So you might have seen, like, it was very amusing when I saw some of the wedding videos where, let's say, a family member who had passed, Okay, they create the full video, like full digital persona, and insert inside the wedding video where you can see somebody who is no more, okay, is part of the, entire ceremony. But the idea is not, like it might have created for entertainment, but these personalities, stealing the whole personality is also possible. So in this kind of scenario where faces can be faked, the video can be faked, technology can lie, personality can be faked, the biggest problem is that how we are going to identify that the person whom we are talking to, whom we are giving the trust, okay, is a genuine person. So the traditional model of static identity proofing is falling way too short. And people are migrating from there to multimodal AI-powered verification techniques where the combination of biometric or behavioral analytics as well as liveliness detection all combined together playing a role. In fact, this identity verification is not a one-time activity. Okay, it need to be done at multiple times based on the risk. So it need to be linked with the risk, and based on that you need to again validate that the person is same or not, which is making our job little tough. But the idea is again how to keep the friction low and use all those signals to and leverage AI to be able to provide that level of trust which is needed.
So you're saying behavioral and contextual verification is going to be something that is an amalgamation of AI with physical verification and bringing in elements like video. Very interesting. But my question, I guess, I don't know how many of you are wondering over here, but where does the liability really lie? Someone has a deep fake video, they're not aware of it. The person who's actually doing the verification is not aware of it. The organization who's actually taking that verification and is creating an account or creating is maybe the ROC, maybe a bank account, maybe a DMAT account, they are not aware of it. So where does the liability really lie?
So, in my opinion, the liability is shared. Okay, so enterprises who are actually deploying these solutions, they are ultimately responsible for the data protection. Like all the sensitive data, it's an enterprise responsibility. They cannot shirk away from that, whatever happens. And along with that, like they also are responsible for deploying the right security controls by deploying the robust technologies. Now, the vendors who are providing the technology, they are also sharing the liability in terms of being transparent and making sure that technology is resilient to the rising cyber attacks, the latest trends in the market. And that responsibility vendors have. And I would say the regulators also have the shared responsibility in terms of defining the standards and the frameworks which are going to enforce all these controls in a right way to be able to create a kind of an ecosystem of shared liability, okay, which is going to actually be helpful. So it is not just one party, but a combination of regulator, vendor, and enterprise together will be able to share the responsibility.
Okay, on the topic of regulation, you mentioned that you were visiting certain government bodies when you were here. Can you throw some light on what are we doing? What is the Indian government doing in terms of cybersecurity? What are we doing in terms of technology? Where do we stand on a global level? Can you tell us? Give us a little bit of insight without getting yourself into too much trouble?
Yeah, sure. So actually in this trip, it was my privilege to be able to visit some of the R&D labs of Government of India, looking at how they are adopting quantum safe solution and how India is progressing towards Atmanirbhar Bharat or all those indigenous technologies. And I was shockingly surprised that it was such a great investment which government had done. In my opinion, like right now, India is sitting at a fascinating inflection point where it is right now, one of the world's largest and fastest growing digital economy. If you look at the cloud adoption is rising in the country, and also the fintechs are scaling up in a big way. There are multiple government initiatives which are driving the innovation, and those innovations are, creating this massive change in terms of the transformation in the market. So I think all of you are noticing the news right now, which is, between US, India, okay, the tensions which are growing, and all these latest, kind of events, they are kind of wake-up call okay, which is also kind of adding to our thought process that how India can be self-reliant in the area of cybersecurity. So there are many initiatives which I'm aware of where, not just looking at, building those cybersecurity solution, but the underlying infrastructure on which it is running, right from operating system, the Bhar OS, which had been designed by IIT Chennai, okay, which is being used, our own VPN solution, our own, SIM SOC, okay, which are getting developed. And this is going to take India to the next level where it will not just take care of internal cybersecurity need of the government sector, but also compete in the global market. So very proud of some of these latest development which I came across in the last week, met with some of the top scientists to interact with them.
On the topic of quantum computing, we say harvest now, decrypt later. What is India doing in terms of quantum computing, in terms of quantum technology? Because we've only heard about these things in the West. Israel, of course, is one of the foremost innovators in this field. Where do we stand in all of this? And we had, of course, we have defense issues. We have to fortify our borders. We had Operation Sindoor happen. So there is a lot of sensitive data with India being a superpower and an emerging power today, playing this political game, and I think playing it quite well. Where are we stand in this, in fortifying our defense and in the quantum, specifically in quantum computing?
Yeah, so quantum, as all of you know, that okay, it is a new wave similar to Y2K, which is on the making, okay, coming in next 2 year, 3 year, or 5 year, we don't know, but it is coming for sure. And once this comes, so all these cyber attacks, okay, which are using AI, and all that computation what we are doing will get multiplied by thousands of times. So the problem which we are dealing with, they are all going to multiply, to a larger extent. And the point which you mentioned, Madhav, the harvest now and decrypt later, okay, our adversaries are well prepared. All the sensitive information they have already downloaded right now. That's what is harvest now, and they are waiting for the day this quantum computing comes, and then they can actually break all of that. In considering that way, what India is doing, I feel really proud that many of the institutions, especially IITs, okay, they have a very well-defined focus area in research area related to this, and many of our defense infrastructure is already migrated to quantum safe technologies. So these algorithms, the next generation of cryptographic algorithm, they are already there in market. NIST had conducted several rounds of competition and they have published. But taking those algorithms, implementing in your own way or putting it inside the chip is what India is doing right now, and which will take us into the leadership position, and it will not just protect our infrastructure, but make us a leader in this space.
Very gratifying to know that we're actually in the forefront of technology for a change. Let's quickly talk about, last speaker spoke about agentic AI. Where do you think that's going? Is that the future of IAM? Where does that play a role in really access management broadly? PAM, IGA, IAM, we'll talk about that in a second, but agentic AI and the role it's playing over the next 3 to 5 years, where do you see that going?
So agentic AI is a game changer. Okay, so I'll just share with all of you. There are two terms which are very same, like AI agent and agentic AI. Okay, so don't get confused. The AI agent are the autonomous systems similar to like chatbot. Okay, where you just assign a task, it can actually do it independently. Now, what is a game changer in agentic AI is that here the agents, they are not just doing things autonomously, but they have the ability or the skills to do the discovery. So they can discover other agent, they can actually share the memory, they can delegate the task, and they can also collaborate with the humans to be able to solve some of the most complex problems which we have. Now, if you take a deep breath and think about it, it's a game changer, where it's not just one agent which can automatically, it can think and take a decision, but it can call other agents and the humans and collaborate and take care of all those things. So the identity and access management domain is, impacted by these agentic AI innovation in a big way. Like I was there in the CyberArk summit in Boston, and the whole section talking about agentic AI, how it is helping the human as well as non-human identities. Okay, the identity problem is going to grow multifold. Right now, we are dealing with the workforce, employees, and partners and the consumers. But a big, boost coming as a non-human identities, and there, these agentic AI is going to play a major role. All the architectures like organizations, and what I heard from you, Madhav, your company had also adopted to the agentic AI-based architecture to solve some of the most complex problem in the industry. So this is one area which I would recommend all of you to watch out for, because many of the traditional legacy product will totally die out, and the new set of product who are adopting agentic AI, they are going to survive in the days to come.
What we have found is that IAM, PAM, and IGA no longer can be spoken about separately. Even 5 years ago, you had companies specializing in MFA, for instance, was focusing just on the IGA aspect of things. Can you talk about a little bit how agentic AI is going to change that and how it's going to kind of be kind of like ChatGPT, for instance, in terms of having a repository and having rule sets that is kind of adapting and then bringing in human interfaces, but across PAM and IGA as well?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question, and I'll answer it in a way where the industry trend is catching up. So imagine that this entire identity management domain had been broken into multiple silos. The one which you mentioned, the single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, there are a whole set of product for that. You have IGA product like Savient, SailPoint, and a whole bunch of other products. Similarly, you have PAM products, right? And then directory and all that. So there are multiple silos which need to work with each other to be able to solve the problem. Now, agentic AI is giving us the future hope where you don't need multiple products. You just need the agents and the database, the directory and the agents. These agents can do just-in-time authentication. They can do continuous verification, and based on the risk assessment, they can actually take action. They can also collaborate with each other to be able to say that, hey, no one is given the privilege in the beginning, but if you are authorized, if you have the entitlement to do that particular transaction, then right at the moment, just in that time, it will give you the privilege to be able to do the transaction. So agentic AI is going to simplify the entire model which are there, and many of these products which you are seeing right now, they will galvanize, either they'll evaporate or they'll take a new form, okay, to be able to provide those interfaces to the agentic AI.
I think it's time for us to wrap up. So I have one last question. I'm sure the room is filled with CISOs and people looking at InfoSec very seriously. Sitting where you do and your vantage point, looking at things on a global level, what is the advice you would give CISOs? What should they be looking out for? Where should they tread carefully? And what are the pitfalls that you've already seen that perhaps you can give us some advice on?
So considering the current situation where the compliance and geopolitics are converging together, okay, you understand what I'm saying. It's not just compliance, but geopolitics. So the key question is not that, okay, our solution, the IAM solution is secure, but the key question had changed that way, is it trusted? Is it sovereign? And is it resilient under external pressure? Okay, all those questions are coming up. Okay, you are all aware of Nayara Energy recent case, which was eye-opener, a wake-up call for many organizations and the government. So under those circumstances, my advice to all the CISO and the cybersecurity leaders in this room is to be agile and adaptive. Reason being, the AI-based, AI is already being used by all the adversaries. Cyber attackers are using it. Whether you believe it or not, there are all different type of attacks which are emerging. Like as compared to last year, where 4,000 password hacking attempt was happening per hour. Okay, this year it is 7,000. So it is like, the AI is accelerating the entire attack surface. Considering that in mind and the geopolitics and all those compliance mandate, we require to be agile and adaptive to be able to prioritize the adaptive identity management and leveraging agentic AI-based solution to be able to defend our organizations or the client where you are providing services.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I don't know if we have time, but I can throw the floor up for questions. All right, I don't think there are any questions. If there are any questions, you can find me and Arun. We're going to be hanging out at the expo for some time. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Arun, so much for spending the time. It's been always a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhav. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Madhav. I request you both to stay on the stage, and I request Anushri to please felicitate our speakers. Thank you so much for sparing your time and for this wonderful session. Please give a round of applause to our speakers, Madhav, Arun. Thank you. Thank you, Anushri. Thank you, Madhav. Thank you, Arun.